Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be going over Gold Mythic Angel, a little starter guide on how to build this character. I know a lot of people have managed to get their hands on her during the Battle Pass. She is one of the stronger Battle Pass characters to come to the game, and she is going to no doubt have her own little mini meta in the foreseeable future. Now this is just going over how I think you should build her. If you want to see how she works, how her skills work based on, how you want to approach maybe attacking her, you can check out my preview video of her, which should be in the top right hand corner. But first of all, we're going to get into the skills, which ones I think are upgrading, and the sort of downsides and upsides of upgrading certain ones. So when it comes to her Adrenaline Rush and her signature moves, she does not need any upgrades. Most characters don't these days. It is all in the passives. I have fully upgraded 3 of the passives, as you can see. But one of the passives I have not, and it is the bonus AP gain, basically, that you can get from her specialist skill being 100% HP instead of 75% HP. I am actually going to max this out, but I didn't first, just to explain how this works. If you do max this out, her signature move will change from a turn 2 signature move to a turn 3 signature move, and this is because she'll get enough adrenaline to rush by turn 2, which is obviously very powerful. Her rush makes her very tanky, but you won't get the benefits of that signature move until turn 3 that way. And it really depends on how you want to build this character. I would say her rushing earlier is better, or more often, because in terms of the end game fight, if you have got, let's say, Angel alive by herself, she will always have her buffs up as long as she doesn't get hard controlled, because she can still have her specialist skill stopped for the AP gain. If she does get stunned, the sequence of how things go, it will stop her AP gain in that situation, and we will talk about that potentially in the combat mods. But maxing this out is the way to go. But if you, for whatever reason, had some ideas that you didn't want to max it out to get that signature move to go off on turn 2, you could have like some crazy idea. But the second you max this out, you can't go back. It's just one thing to note. But I am going to max this out, so now she is completely maxed. As you can see, all of her passives, and she gets all the bonuses there. You can see she gets the strength, take the pain away, always ready, and unwounded. Fully maxed out, she's going to be pretty nasty for sure. Now we'll come to her combat mods, and you can see her stats on the left hand side. I have maxed her out to level 700. I just haven't used gold medals on her. I potentially could, because I have actually got reasonable stock, but it's not going to be a huge amount of stats boost that she's going to get from that. But she has got very unbalanced stats towards the HP and defense. And basically, depending on what leader you want to go with, you want to go with like the opposite in her mods. So if you're going for defense leader, I think you would want to go for HP mods and HP set, and just keep it very HP based. You're going to go for the 2 stats on her weapon regardless, so she's going to get massive boosts all over the place. So for instance, if you've got Priya, you want to go all HP as much as possible in her mods, because she's going to get huge amounts of defense from Priya, potentially even more defense from someone like Andre as well. And then it all multiplies together, including the multiplication comes in with the weapon. So the defense number is just going to be absolutely crazy. The HP number, on the other hand, is going to be way low. So you're going to want to boost it up as much as possible. I have not got Priya, but the leader I would use a lot of the time would be Ezekiel, and he does give a defense boost. So I'm going to be going for HP, but let's say if you had Wang Fa as your leader, you'd want to go for more of a defensive setup on her mods when it comes to defense on defense and defensive set, obviously. So the first mod, pretty easy. We'll go for HP on HP in this setup with a defense leader. I think we got given HP mods in the Battle Pass, and a HP on HP mod was given out, so happy days. Go for the highest percentage. You can see her HP gets boosted by like 6k. I think it's a 20% mod. It's a 20.1% mod, so that's a nice little boost there. And I think it's pretty straightforward from here on. You want to go for defense versus fast, and I think again we got one of these from the Battle Pass, very useful. You of course want to max this out as high as possible. I don't actually have any of the supplies yet to max this out, the scraps, but I will max this out as soon as possible. But this would definitely be the one to go for. You want to go for the highest percentage one you can get. You can drop down to gold if you don't get a very good platinum, but generally speaking, platinum, you should get at least 45% plus a lot of the time. But the higher the better, of course. Now we're going to skip over the resist mod for the time being, because that's a longer conversation. The bottom left is up to you. I would say graze could be a good way to go if you've got a nice graze mod. If you want to keep it on HP, you can. She does not get as many good bonuses from like defense while stunned, or defense while confused, or defense while, you know, status effect, because she cleanses those status effects at the beginning of her turn. So someone who gets stunned for 2 turns will get a bigger benefit from that, whereas she's going to only get a benefit from the turn that she actually gets stunned. So that is something to note. You could potentially go for Reflect, I guess. You could go for Reflect or Graze. I think that's pretty much your only 2 options. Trying to continue along what Angel does, which is reduce the incoming damage as much as possible. She'll stop crit damage being as high. It'll be pretty annoying to deal with. So I did have a HP set Graze mod on someone else, so I decided to equip it here on Angel, and you can see I've got the set bonus now, and we're getting a 10,000 boost to HP just on the triple mod and a set bonus. That is kind of crazy. That is a huge amount of boost. Even if I didn't give her any more HP from this, she's got 41,000, which is actually reasonable. She's going to get more from her weapon as well, and she's going to get more from the 2 more mods coming in to complete the set bonus to bring it up a little bit. So her base HP with a defense leader will still be actually pretty decent as long as you go all in on it. So I've locked these mods in, and now we've got to decide on the last 2 mods. I would say double resist is probably the way to go, and there are only very certain resists that are important. I talked about it in the video earlier on about being stunned. If Angel gets stunned, her specialist skill does not proc. It doesn't proc. It does the specialist skill check before it does the cleanse. So if it comes in for the specialist skill, it will check that it can do it. She's stunned, it can't do it. Her passive will come in and clear the stun, but she still won't gain any AP because of her specialist skill. So if you do want her to consistently get AP on her specialist skill, you have to give her something that stops her from getting stunned. And that would be obviously stun resist in this bottom right hand corner. I'd say that's pretty much the go-to at the moment. The second resist is pretty much up to you, and that's going to change with the seasons, honestly. When new things come into the game, like exhaust and trauma, she's going to have problems there. Now, you can get ahead of it to a certain extent. I would probably use Maim in the meantime. It's one of the easier ways to deal with Angel because she can get so tanked out, and there are some nice main characters around right now, and there's a great one coming in the future as well with the next battle pass. So I'm going to go with stun resist and maim resist as my 2 mods for the moment, but it may change later on, and you know, something like exhaust resist or trauma resist could pop into here as well. So I have applied the best main resist and stun resist I have. Strange enough, I had to go down to gold to get the best of the HP set, you know, stun resist. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a terrible thing when it comes to dropping down. You're only going to lose a little bit when it comes to the set bonus. You're still going to keep in set. I could have gone offset to get 2% more, but I decided to stay on set just to give a little bit more of a HP bonus. You can see her HP goes up to 43,000 base before any multipliers come in. This is pretty nice. This is exactly what I wanted to see. Huge amounts of HP stats and stuff. This should be pretty hard to deal with. Now let's talk about her base weapon. I think for the time being, this weapon is not really that important for her. It starts off as a 5-star weapon, so you don't have to upgrade it in any way. You can come up with ideas over the next weeks or months in terms of deciding how you're going to use this weapon. But I would primarily go for a weapon that you already have pre-built, because 2 of these slots are not very useful right now. AP when taking damage and the exhaust cleanse. There is no exhaust in the game, so you don't have to actually worry about it within the mythics at the moment. But that is just a little nod to say it is coming, so be prepared. And then the huge bonus to AP when taking damage, she doesn't need it. She gains so much AP from her specialist skill, she does not need that. So regardless of if exhaust does come in the game or not, you would want to change that second slot to HP and then decide which stat, HP or defense, you're going to boost up, or whether you're going to try and keep them balanced on the boosts. And you could get them both to 40%, for instance, or 1 to 35, sorry, and 1 to 40%, and keep her as balanced as possible. But I think you can get higher percentages on a pre-built 5-star weapon, you know, one that you've built from scratch through the armory. I think you can get like the 30s and the 50s, or the 35s and 45s a bit nicer. And we have been given some decent weapons in the past. This was from a battle pass, I believe. And you can see it's got 35% HP and 50% defense rather than 40% defense. Elusive Impair isn't quite important. Like I said, she's not going to do that signature move until turn 3. So you need to make her not easily attackable in those turns. And then you can see in the last slot, she does get the tough HP, the same as her base weapon, but the base weapon has improved tough health, whereas this has just normal tough health. And you can see the difference is this one gives 5% bonus HP per turn for each tough teammate, whereas that one gives 10%, which is a big boost, not going to lie. But in recent times, this weapon has not been really being able to be usable. And on Angel, I think it actually might be, because you don't necessarily need to reduce the incoming damage from crit attacks in her 4 slot, especially if she is on a team with Priya lead. It's not going to be as important. But if you wanted to, you could decide to go for one of those weapons too, to just stop her from actually taking as much damage. And one of the easiest weapons to craft in the game is Clementine's shotgun, and this is because it has impair off base. You will not get the elusive bonus, but it will still make her a non-window. People won't want to attack her as freely. And then you're going to be able to get reasonable amounts of defense and HP, and you could put the reduced critical hit damage in the last slot. This is only going to require 65% upgrades to get it as you see it. This is why I built it. It's quite easy to make, because the 3rd slot, which is harder to come by, is already on the weapon on base. There is also, I believe, a weapon that is a Tyrese weapon that heads on base. They don't have the best base stats. That's the only problem. I don't think either of them had a 30% base stat, but you're making up for it with the fact that it's not going to be as hard to get it looking like this. And your last option is, again, another weapon that came from a battle pass, but again, another weapon you can craft. It is harder to come by when you craft it, but you will get slightly higher percentages on the top stats. But this is actually pretty nice. If you imagine Angel's in the last character alive situation, if she's got that endless elusive on her anyway, I have tested it in my preview video. If she procs the elusive impair from someone attacking her, it doesn't override the endless elusive. You don't have to worry about that. But one of the ways you could actually do something with Angel is actually hit her with certain signature moves. Basically, you know, you could do certain signature moves to try and get through damage or whatever, defense down, and then just do some signature move nukes afterwards, or potentially like maim and stuff on signature moves. Also, that's how you could gain AP. But because Daze would stop people from being able to use their signature moves, should be that all-round like kind of blockade. And we have had characters do that in the past, like Lao Po in the S-class era just was that all-round blockade when she adrenaline rushed. But it'll be more about when you attack Angel rather than when she rushes. Okay, so we have got Angel in the defense team here, and we are using Zeke as a leader in this example. And I have got her with a 50% defense weapon. That first weapon I showed, I think it was Raven's rifle. And you can see her HP stat is nice, considering she's not getting any bonuses from the leader. That's just mods and weapon. That's what you want to see. If you do have a leader like Priya, it's going to be exactly the same HP, but the defense obviously is going to get ramped up quite a bit more. If we add Andre into this team as well, you will boost Angel's defense up some more. You don't necessarily have to, because 60,000 is a lot of defense, but I think it is worth it. And that is because she will now go up to 87,000, and it is just crazy levels of defense at this point. And this is where it's going to be very frustrating. When Andre is taken out in the fight, her defense levels will still remain because it is a pre-fight stat bonus. As you can see, this is on the build a team screen. So any bonuses on this part will always remain. However, any characters that give buffs, the speech bubble buffs, when those wear out, obviously, you're not getting that bonus anymore. And here are just 3 teams that I put together. The first 2 quite a bit more accessible. Obviously, if you've got a Zeke lead, you need to have bleed and burn resist from somewhere else. William is a little easier to come by right now. Even if you have him at grade 5, it's going to be absolutely fine. And then you see the second team is with a Wangfar lead. Obviously, you'd have to balance her mods towards defense to make it work here. But this is pretty accessible. All 90% characters or challenge run. I know Angel herself was part of a battle pass, but it was only like, what, $15, I think. So it's not too crazy when it comes to getting what is going to be an extremely annoying character for sure. And you, of course, will be pulling her on the 90% rates in the gold mythic tokens as well. In the last team, you could swap out the leader Tara for Priya, and you'd have that full tough team. It would run into big issues when it comes to bleed and burn, so you would want to try and figure out a way to fix that. I have seen people just using William with a Priya lead, and even if he gets hard nuked, it doesn't really matter, because that reduction to bleed and burn damage remains even when he's taken out, so it's not too much of a problem. And this is going to be pretty defensive, obviously, with a Priya lead and an Andre and lots of tough characters, so you wouldn't necessarily need Cliff in that situation to stop that extra bit of damage being taken. It's not going to be too much of a problem, and it's less likely to proc anyway, just based on how much damage the characters can take. However, if you've got certain ideas of how to use Angel, other teams, your team setups, please let me know in the comments down below. It is always nice to hear ideas on how people want to set up their teams. You can see the overall stats in the Zeke team at the end, 87,000 defense and 54,000 HP pretty much. Very nice numbers. It's going to be very hard to get through this sort of character at the end, especially when she gets a 100% defense boost off her rush and can keep that up pretty much 24/7 due to her specialist skill proccing and the AP gain and her rushing just so quickly. It's going to be a very annoying character for sure. No doubts there's going to be some counters coming out in the future, but it's going to be very frustrating in the meantime. Very frustrating. But you're going to have to build yours correctly if you have one, so that you can stay alive as long as possible in war to actually get some extra points on the board in the meantime. But do give me your thoughts on Angel in terms of how you're going to build her. Like I said, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.